Okay. We are now live. I've learned to just do it all at once. So I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube all at the same time from my StreamYard studio. So I stopped putting the link, but if you guys want to join in, you can always comment. I can see your comments if you have any questions. So today's Heart-Centered Friday. I wasn't able to do it on Friday because last week me and my son were both a little under the weather. But now we're pretty much all the way better, and I'm able to give you guys some of this good game. All right, so Heart-Centered Fridays on a Sunday. And this is basically about nervous system regulation, since I've been really big on that and actually been practicing it on myself and seeing real time changes in my reality just by regulating my nervous system. So how your body learned strategies before your mind had language is actually the topic for today. So before we talk about the nervous system, let's give our bodies a moment to arrive. Let's take 3 slow breaths. So basically slow inhales about 4 to 5 seconds, and then you want to actually exhale longer. So just make sure your exhale is a little longer, maybe 5 to 6 seconds. So and you always want to breathe in your nose and out of your mouth. So it's just the way that your nervous system resets and you can ground yourself. So you can even put one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, because your body actually responds better to like somatic touches. So just like, you know how they tell people to put your hand on your heart for the Pledge of Allegiance? There's actually a reason for that, because it gets ingrained into your body more when you put your hand on your heart. But what we want to do is do this for ourselves, not necessarily for anybody else. So take the deep breaths. All right. So this is not a mindset conversation. This is a body conversation, because your body actually responds before your mind does. You can have all the mindset in the world. Trust me, when I was in the Marine Corps, I had the best mindset. I was like, oh, it's all about mindset. But that whole time, my body is going off of subconscious programming. And I was having patterns in my life and not realizing why my relationships were a certain way. And that's because our bodies were programmed at a young age, and we cannot mindset our way through it. We actually have to be gentle with ourselves, be gentle with our bodies, because that's the only way to create real change. And as you realize, you know, our parents weren't gentle with us because their parents weren't gentle with them. So it was just a cycle. And that's why we are really here to be the generational curse breakers now, because we are understanding now that science is coming out with all these, you know, findings like, okay, that's not good for your body. It's not good for a person to be raised in an environment where you're constantly being talked down to. So what you actually have to do is be more compassionate. And people are like, oh, like gentle parenting doesn't work. And so it's because some people are getting gentle parenting wrong. Some people are being too, when it comes to being like too gentle, is basically where you're abandoning yourself in order to be gentle, which is not the right way either. There's supposed to be a healthy balance between being gentle and not abandoning yourself. So if my son is going to hit me, I'm going to grab his hand and say, I'm not going to let you hit me, but we can handle this in a better way. So if you want, you can give me a hug and we can breathe it out together. And that's actually worked so much better. I'm going off on this tangent right now, but maybe I'll come back to that another day. Core teaching, the body comes first. So the key, your nervous system was learning long before your mind had words. And I promise you this, because look, babies and toddlers don't have language. Sorry, I still got a cough. The body learns through felt experience. Safety, threat, closeness, rejection are all somatic memories that we take on from a baby. You know, the first 0 to 7 years of life, babies are feeling the energy. They can literally feel what's going on in the house. And I know this because when there was a time when my son was very, very young, he was probably about 11 months old, but he was feeling the tension and the energy in the house. I could tell he didn't like it. His lungs even started acting up because of the grief that he was feeling from what was going on in the house. This is how I knew. And the thing is that even at the time, I didn't know that was the reason. But now that I see clearly and my nervous system is regulated, I see why, why he started all of a sudden getting the breathing problems. Coincidentally, nothing is a coincidence. Coincidentally, the same time that a lot of tension is going on. And so I don't want to put my business, because I don't like to talk down about anything anymore. I don't like to be in like victim language, because I see how much that actually like affects your, how it affects your reality. So when I speak, I try and speak from an area of compassion and more, honestly, more super self accountable, basically. So I'm more accountable for myself than blaming whoever it was, like instead of naming, I'm not blaming anyone else anymore, because I know why I got myself into the situation. And it was because of my patterns that I got from childhood, and so I had to dig deep and learn what my patterns were. Then I had to learn, that's the first thing. The first step is awareness, just becoming aware of your patterns. Like, okay, I got these patterns from childhood. I have a pattern of people pleasing. I have a pattern of overgiving. I have a pattern of anger. I have a pattern of, there's so many different patterns out there that we get from childhood, because they're all survival patterns. And it was like fight, fight. And I've talked about these before: fight, freeze, fight, freeze, fight or flight, freeze, and then fawn. So if you avoid situations a lot, that's fawning. If you freeze, it's basically just freezing in the moment. And then you fighting, obviously, if you like argue a lot, or flight is basically running away from it all the time. I actually used to be the type to, I thought I just wanted peace in my life all the time. So I would run away from it. Like, I don't need that in my life. I don't need that in my life. But then it kept finding me. So I had to figure out what was going on. And it's our nervous system. Our nervous systems were trained a certain way. So we attract what we are, what we've taken on, until we become aware of it. So awareness is the first key, becoming aware of these patterns. And then once you become aware of it, you can start to allow yourself to feel feelings again. This is part of an emotional intelligence, because we're actually not supposed to suppress our feelings. We're supposed to feel our feelings in order to start to transcend them. Because if we're constantly being triggered all the time, there's a problem there. And so babies learn at a young age. They take on the energy before they even know how to talk. They're taking on the energy in the house. So if there's a lot of arguing, if there's a lot of maybe one parent is giving in to the other parent and the other parent is always getting their way, like the kids are taking this on, and they either become one or the other, where they're taking advantage of somebody, or they're being taken advantage of. And so that's why the key is to be completely neutral. And that's what I've learned to do by regulating my nervous system. A lot of those, like, let me give you some examples that people would recognize. So freezing instead of speaking up is something that we take on. Over explaining, people pleasing, like I said before, shutting down emotionally. These weren't choices, they were strategies that our nervous system created for us. One thing I can even remember that I created for myself when I was young, my parents never went to my games, and this is not to shame them at all. So I created it was my brain. Obviously, our nervous systems are trying to keep us safe and protect us. So I basically told myself that I didn't care if anybody came to my games, but I did care. But I kept telling myself. And so throughout my life, I basically was so nonchalant and so go with the flow that it was like, well, I don't care about anything. I don't care about that. I don't care about this. But do I actually care? My body was telling me the whole time, and I kept ignoring it. Like the bad feelings I would get in my gut, or like the heart dropping feelings, like all of these feelings are telling me that I actually do care, but I'm just saying that I don't. And so we come up with these defense mechanisms to keep us safe. And so they're there for a reason. But when we become aware of it, we could actually talk to it and be like, look, I see you and I understand why. We actually have to be gentle with ourselves. This is the only way that our bodies create change. And isn't it crazy how like most of us grew up with, I don't know, there's a whole reason for it, but I don't want to go into all of that. But the fact that being gentle with ourselves is how we're going to create real change, by saying, okay, I understand why, you know, I understand why it is that you did what you did, because, this is how you learned to keep connection. And, when you didn't do this, connection was always like severed somehow. But you can start to reframe things in your body and slowly make changes to where your body shifts automatically. Your boundaries start to become more automatic too. And it doesn't feel so like, because it used to feel hard for me to set boundaries. I didn't even know what boundaries were really until the last 2 years was really when I had to start setting like some strong boundaries. And that's why you're going to see these mirrors in your life when you need to see it. And setting strong boundaries, basically being able to stand up for yourself. And you can do this with your kids too. I do it with my son all the time. Like I'm not, and it was hard at first because with your kids, like you want to accommodate, but at the same time, you can't abandon yourself in order to do so, or they're not going to respect you. So it has to be a balance. And so let's get into strategy versus identity. So a strategy is not who you are. It's something that your body learned to stay safe. So who you really are is underneath all of that, all of the conditioning, all of the things that we were taught. Who you really are is underneath all of that. So we kind of have to like strip all that away to figure out who we really are and who we're meant to be. So your nervous system asks, what do I need to do to stay connected, protected, or survive here in this instant? And this was when you were a kid. So common early strategies are to be quiet, to be good, to be helpful, to be strong, to be invisible. Your body was intelligent. It wasn't broken. It was doing its job. Why willpower doesn't work? So just pure willpower isn't going to work because the mind changes faster than the body does. So you can change your mind, but your body is still in survival mode. So people think that people tend to think that they're regressing because they, doing all this mindset stuff, but they're like, why aren't things changing? It's because your body needs to catch up. Your body has to have that compassion, and it has to kind of change at its pace. So the body updates through felt safety, not force. So you have to be the one to make your own self feel safe. And that's the thing that I've learned too, is like, my whole life I had to be Miss Independent, but then I became too independent, too much in my masculine. But it's about being able to keep myself, tell my body that I'm safe, and be able to keep my heart open at the same time. And it's a balance. And so you can't talk your nervous system out of a job. It thinks it's keeping you alive. So gentle integration practice, awareness, not fixing. Notice one strategy that your body learned early in life. Don't try and do all of this at once. Like, you can write down all of your patterns, but I would say to work on one at a time. Start writing down your patterns and then work on one pattern at a time. So examples: overgiving, shutting down, hyper independence, controlling, trying to control outcomes. Then ask, what was this protecting me from? And this is something that you can journal. So write down all your patterns and then start by one at a time. One at a time. Work on one at a time. Say, what was this protecting me from? No need to change it today. Just let it be seen, because awareness is actually the thing that starts to get it moving. Because most people just aren't aware of their patterns. They're like, why do I keep getting myself in the same situations? And they have no idea that these patterns come from childhood. I was literally running in my subconscious patterns from childhood until 2 years ago, when I left the relationship and started realizing, like, dang, like, I didn't heal from a lot of my mother wounds. And so that's when it started unfolding, like everything started unfolding for me. And so we can be gentle on ourselves and not be so hard on ourselves. Healing isn't about erasing strategies. It's about letting your body know that you're safer now. And so it's going to feel weird, but you have to talk to yourself, because your body is always listening. Every cell in your body has basically, like, it's listening to you and it's receiving information all the time. And the more you talk to yourself, I basically sat down with myself and been like, look, like, the things that I wanted to hear from everyone else, like, I had to start telling myself that. Like, look, I have your back no matter what. I have your back. I'm looking at myself in the mirror, or I'm just talking to myself and saying this. I have your back no matter what. I'm never going to leave you. I'm going to stay present for every single thing. I'm going to be with you through everything, no matter what, whether you're sad, mad, disappointed, happy, joyful, laughing, through all of it. I want to be present for it all, because a lot of us tend to leave our bodies whenever we feel a negative feeling. And when we start to change our relationship with all of the feelings and realize that there's no negative feelings. They're just feelings that are trying to tell us something. These negative feelings are trying to tell us that we're basically not where we're meant to be. I mean, so I will say that I feel like everything that's happened was meant to happen. But you get the bad feelings because there are better places that you can be. And so that should be your cue to exit and find that better place. And so once you start to gain this better relationship with your feelings and understand, like, okay, this is why I felt angry. This is why I felt sad. This is why I felt, and then I'm actually to the point, I've already covered all those feelings, and taught myself how to feel again, because, I suppressed my feelings for so long that, I was in the Marine Corps. I was a Marine for 14 years. So look at all that suppression. That's a lot of freaking suppression of feelings. Except for the angry feelings. I feel like there was times I definitely blew up and had to go off on somebody. But and that wasn't even like my younger Marines. It was like the people that was higher than me that I ended up going off on because of the, you know, the down talking and all the, all the craziness. So you get to the point where you just get tired of it and you're like, well, shoot, I'm not gonna take this no more. Like, so it got to the point where I wasn't gonna I will not even, I'm to the point, I will not even argue with anybody anymore. I feel triggers, but I notice them and I don't engage. That's where I'm at now. I don't engage. I feel the trigger. And even if somebody disagrees with me, I just won't even engage in the conversation. It's like, okay, we can agree to disagree. And if you want to start to get activated about it, then I don't even need to continue this conversation because you're going to believe what you want to believe. I'm not going to over explain myself anymore. I used to over explain myself all the time because I just wanted somebody to see me, but I'm not doing that. I'm not over explaining myself anymore. I'm not chasing nobody. I don't shut down either. I'll sit there for a conversation, especially if somebody wants to have a calm conversation and just be curious as to why I think the way I think. I'll sit there and have that calm conversation. But as far as people, and this, I attest this to my nervous system regulation practices. The fact that I've regulated my nervous system to this point is why I'm able to get to this point of boundaries and because I'm telling you, it used to be so hard for me to, I feel like for the longest time I had this fear of abandonment, this anxiety. My body wouldn't let me change, even if my mind wanted to, until I started doing all this nervous system regulation and, feeling my feelings again. All this, it's emotional intelligence, nervous system regulation. I'm in a social intelligence class now too for my master's program. So I'm continuously learning. And now I'm to the point where I'm starting to try to identify more micro feelings, which I can't even name those right now because I've gotten the anger, the sadness, the frustration, annoyance, but there's a lot more feelings that you can start to name and get even deeper. So that's where I'm at. And yeah, so basically when safety increases, strategies soften naturally. Your body naturally starts to feel like you don't feel the same as you did because your body is changing the way that it's meant to. So basically, if this resonates and you want to learn how to create safety in your nervous system, that's the work I guide people through. So if this resonated with you and you want to hear more, you want to talk more about it, you can send me a DM. We could talk more about it. I do free coaching calls. It's free discovery calls. And then I do have programs. I have online courses I'm creating right now too. Those will actually be finished by the end of January. Those will all be up. I have 3 classes. One's already done, but I'm not gonna put it up until they're all done. But yeah. So hit me up anytime. I am here, and then I'm also here every Friday. Unless something comes up, then I'll usually push it to Sunday. But every Friday, I'm going to be Heart-Centered Fridays. You're free to comment and, ask questions. Or if you ever wanted to join in, you could just join in on my StreamYard link. I usually paste that one in my Facebook post that I make. So, yeah. You guys have a great rest of your night then.